Welcome to another edition of the Empower Hour. I am Al Kumar.
And I'm Hanifa.
And we do this each and every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. We come to you with impactful topics of discussion that affect our everyday lives. Today's discussion will be no different. We have in the studio with us Miss Lakisha Davis-Small.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It is such a blessing to see your face again.
Oh,
You made such an impact on me the first time I met you. And so, I've been looking forward. I know Hanifa have been too. Looking forward to doing this show. It's been a rough ride trying to get you here. Finally, we got you here.
Yes.
So today's discussion, we'll be talking about sex abuse.
Yeah.
Sex abuse, and which is a heavy topic
Yeah.
of discussion.
It just happens that we got you on around the time that it's really this hot topic right now, in mainstream media, which is not a bad thing. So I'm like, it's interesting. We've been trying to see if we can get her on, and then so many different things have been happening, and then boom,
Right.
here comes Lakisha. So yes, right on time.
Yes.
And we'll definitely be talking about your book, Your Deliverance is Coming. This was great. I read the book through and through. It was a really good read, kept my attention, very interesting. I learned some things. My heart went out in a lot of different places. You really laid it all out. You really just let it all out in this book. So, and I appreciate you for doing that.
Thank you.
Because I'm sure there's going to be people, sex abuse survivors, that will pick this book up and read it and really get some healing from it. So I appreciate you doing this body of work.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about who you are, the audience, so they can know who exactly you are.
Okay.
And your
Sure.
role.
Yes. So my name is Lakisha Davis-Small, and I am from the historical Shaw community, Washington, D.C. I was actually born and raised in the Shaw community, but I was born at Howard University Hospital. And it's funny to me that back then, to me, it wasn't so historical, but now it is definitely historical. And they have signs and all types of things to let you know that it is a historical site. So I appreciate being, raised in a city. I am a survivor of sexual abuse. I am an advocate against sexual abuse and an advocate against domestic violence. I, too, am a survivor. And I started a movement called Stop Stealing Our Souls, putting an end to sex exploitation. And this movement is a passion, of course, that stemmed from my experience, in which we'll talk about and get into a little more in the show. But I am an author, and a lot of times we don't know what to do with our pain, but if you sit silently and you sit quiet, and you'll hear the Spirit of God tell you which way to go, because a lot of times when you're hurt, you internalize it. So you have to find a way to get it out. So my way of getting it out is writing and advocating and writing poetry, and I do self-care, because I can't help the village if I can't help myself. Right. So I started a revolution in my house, and it's spreading out.
Good. Beautiful stuff. Good. So I know I've heard your story, and like Alcomar said the first time, I think we were all on a panel together, a panel of women, and I actually was really impacted by it, your passion specifically around it, and you can also tell that there was some work that you've already done as far as the pain and shame that's connected to sexual abuse. You could tell just by how you share and how transparent you are, that shame and guilt and so forth has been either dealt with or is on its way to being dealt with, right? And so what I wanted to ask is, at what point, first of all, why don't you start by telling us your story?
Sure.
Because your story is really what brought you to where you're at right now. So
Sure.
let's start there.
Sure. And people always say, why do you smile all the time when you tell such a horrific story? And the reason why I smile is because I'm gifted enough the smile through my adversity. I want you all to know that, because what I realized is strong-minded people can't change situations. So when you spend a lot of time worrying about things you can't change, it weakens you. It weakens your mind. So when you know you absolutely can't do anything about it, leave it alone. You know, so I can't do anything about what happened to me, but I can help myself move forward and do greater things and deal with my triggers, and which we'll talk about. So let me tell you. So at 5 years old, my father, he was with my mom, and they had an apartment on Park Road, Northwest. I'm gonna give y'all some details so y'all can follow me here. And and my mom and dad, you know, their relationship got pretty ugly. And my mom, you know, felt that, you know, my dad could give her the love and affection and basically what she needed coming from a broken home. She was looking for that in her man. She didn't know her man had his own issues, even though he came from a two-parent home, a Christian, very religious background. That didn't make a difference. He wasn't able to supply her with those particular needs that she needed, and she felt that having a baby would change all of that. So voila, here I go. And at 5 years old, my mom decided that my dad wasn't doing enough to fulfill her personal needs as far as the love she needed. So she started cheating on my dad, and she ended up getting pregnant by another man on my dad, and he never knew. And we were all living together, but he worked so much that, you know, he wasn't able to tell or know her moves, the moves she was making. Make a long story short, my mother took myself and her newborn baby to Bowling Green, Virginia. And she said to me, Lakisha, I'll be right back to get you. She took me to her sister's house, my aunt. And I waited for my mother for 8 months. She never came back. I literally thought she went to the store. When my mommy said she'll be back, she'll be right back.
How old were you at this time?
I was 5 years old. I was 5 years old. So my dad did not know much about my mother's family. So he basically picked one of her sisters who lived on Georgia Avenue to say, hey, where are your family from? This, that, and the third. Found out where I was. He was my hero. He came to rescue me. And I was so proud and so happy because I went through a lot seeing sexual indiscretion, shall I say, at my aunt's house. You know, she was having an affair with her husband, on her husband, and I witnessed it every day. You know, so I was exposed to lust and sex very early. So when I returned to D.C., my dad entrusted his nieces to watch over me because he was a manager at the fruit stand off of Georgia Avenue. Everyone from D.C. know where the Ibex is, so it sits right on the corner.
Oh, yeah.
And he, you know, he worked 24 hours, so he trusted his nieces, and their brother actually was 21 years old, and we were watching Friday night videos with Sheila E. And I'll never forget. And at 12 o'clock, I remember him saying, you know, it's time for you all to go to bed, because I had other cousins who were my age, but the older cousins, you know, had children young, so we all were around the same age, but they were in their 20s also, just a little older than my cousin that raped me. So on that particular night, I was asleep, you know, and he comes into the room. And for you listeners, if you can't take this, you can mute it, but I'm going to give you real candid information, because all the filth we see on TV, I'm sure you can take this, you know. So my cousin comes in the room, and I feel my nightgown go up. So I pull it down, and I feel it go up again, and I'm like, hey, maybe I'm sleeping wild. And I never would sleep with underclothes under my nightgown, because I remember my grandmother saying women should let their cells air out, you know. You should. So my cousin actually jumped on me and raped me rectally, which is sodomy. And, you know, it was a horrific experience because I was 5 and he was 21. So there was no type of even I can't even explain how he attacked me. It was something like a scary movie, like a monster coming into the room. You see the door turn and the monster attacks. That's exactly how it was. And, you know, I would scream and he covered my mouth and there was blood everywhere. So imagine a 5-year-old body going through that with the adult, through the whole process, because he never stopped until he was finished. You understand? So, you know, I think about it and I say, wow, God, you really kept me, because that was very bad. And I went into the bathroom and I was bleeding. I had someone draw a picture of this. It's actually on my Instagram page and Facebook. I had someone draw the picture of me kneeling over the tub with blood coming down from me, but an angel appeared in a corner and it comforted me. And I was told to lock the bathroom door, in which I did. I was 5, so how would I know to protect myself in this way? So when my cousins, like I said, the older cousins, I'm sorry if I didn't tell you all, my older cousins went out to the club. So they weren't privy. They didn't know what was going on.
So he was babysitting you because
Yes.
they were gone.
Yes.
And these are the women.
Yeah, all the women are gone.
All the women left. Okay.
Right. So I thought I heard my cousins come in, so I opened the door and looked, and my cousin had a butcher knife. Now I'm already 5. You already done raped me. Now you're scaring me with a big old knife. So I shut the door and locked it again and got on my knees, and I just started crying. And eventually my cousins did come home, and when they did, you know, I was told that his older sister smacked him in the face and asked him, what did you do, as if she already knew. And when they came and they saw me, I remember them putting me in a bathtub, and I have to be real. He gave me gonorrhea, so green globs of sperm was coming out of me at 5 years old. Now this is real. This is real. I want to be so real, because we always say keep it real. I want to be real with you. I want you to walk into the door and see what happened. You know, in movies when they show rape, they hear the screaming and they shut the door. No, I'm opening the door. I want you to see what happened behind the screams. So after that, in my autobiography, I wrote that the police was called and my cousin went to jail, which he did do 8 years. But I just found out in 2018, after being raped in 1984, you all, the police report I obtained from D.C. court stated that the 5-year-old witness said that he raped me for 4 to 5 weeks. Not just that one time. So my memory only captured the introduction.
That information came from you?
It came from the DC. Yes.
They're saying
You,
she reported
yes.
you.
you said that, but you can't remember saying that.
But you remember that initial traumatic event,
Yes.
which is the first time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the police report stated that the 5-year-old witness, and it clearly states this. And I'm so serious about stopping sexual abuse, I might post my police report on my website so people can see it's not a joke. So it said 5-year-old witness said that my cousin would come up behind me while everyone is sleeping, and I would feel something wet in between my legs and wipe it off. And this was happening for 4 to 5 weeks. So in a police report, it stated that not only did he rape me rectally, but vaginally. And this was for a month. And this was hidden from my dad. What got him arrested, you all? You ready for this, Facebook? Y'all not ready. What got my cousin arrested was the smell of gonorrhea. The infection had got so bad that they had to take me to the hospital. And that's how he was arrested. He walked himself from the court document. He walked himself into 3rd district, 4th district, and turned himself in. And in the report, guess what it said? He wanted to fulfill his lustful desires for me. That's deep. I'm 5. A grown man wanted to fulfill his lustful desires. That is in black and white.
So my question is, so after your, from what you remember, And it sounds like from talking maybe to your cousins, the ones that were present, that came
Mm-hmm,
after, the woman that went out to the club. So after they found out
Mm-hmm.
that this happened and you said they showered you,
Mm-hmm.
no one made a report.
No.
No adult.
You know why? Because he was abusing their children too. He
So they knew that he was a predator already, but they took the risk of leaving you there. I got you. Okay.
You see family
Yes.
do y'all hear this? Family secrets.
Yeah. Yes.
Family secrets. What I found out was someone sexually abused him. So he had a mental illness. So they felt sorry for him and was pacifying his illness. And he was molesting and raping both of his sisters, some of their children, for a fact. Even a boy. For a fact. And they knew. But they said, Uncle Michael's sick. And yes, I said his name. Uncle Michael's sick. We're just going to put the food on the stove and you all will be fine. But see, God will pay people for the evil deeds they do. He went to jail. He got raped. He caught AIDS and he died. Okay? So I was told, and I'm still working on forgiveness because they say resentment is like you drinking poison waiting for your enemies to die.
I like that.
That's deep to me. You know, so in my healing process on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 7, 8. You know?
Thank you for your honesty.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, so, you know, this event was very horrific and my dad felt less than a man.
So that's what I was going to get to next. So your dad now, bringing your dad back. So this was hidden, and I could see why, because you're 5. It doesn't fall on you. The responsibility doesn't really fall on you to report this to your dad or even the police. The adults around you failed to protect you in more than one way. So now, at what point did your dad found out? How did you?
Child Protective Services called him.
Because that they
from
investigate.
the hospital.
Okay.
When they took me to the hospital,
Did they take you that night?
no, they took me a month later.
She said because of the smell of the gonorrhea. Yeah.
They took me a month later.
So then the CPS called your dad, and this
At
is
work.
and this is how he found out.
Yes.
Okay. And how was that for dad? Because he probably felt like he failed to protect you because, like you said, he was a working man, and so he left you there to be babysat. He trusted them.
Oh, let me tell y'all something. They messed my dad up. They messed my dad up. I don't think my dad ever recovered. My dad just died 3 years ago on January 15th, Martin Luther King birthday. Instantly blew my whole mind. But up until then, my dad has never recovered from me being raped. He's just been existing and living and trying to do what he can, but a part of his soul was stolen. You know, and my dad went to therapy with me. That one day I'll never forget, at Children's Hospital, they called my dad. We had to sit down with a child psychologist. And she took 2 doll babies and set them on a table, and I was able to remember this vividly. And she said, show me what happened to you. So I put the girl doll baby on her stomach and a boy on her back. My dad pushed away from the table, and never again did I ever go see a psychologist. Ever until I was 25. I wasn't even on a healing path until 25. I didn't know I had a problem until 25 because I was about to steal somebody's soul for real. Snatch it right out of their body because they were harassing me. So I felt like I've never been never been suicidal. Some people feel like they want to die and they don't want to live. I will always say to my therapist, I feel homicidal. I didn't cause this pain. Why do I want to hurt me? I would never want to hurt me, you know? So, you know, I always try to maintain, you know, it's just a lot. It's a lot around this. It's so much I want to say.
Yeah. So, in your book, you shared it. It didn't stop there, unfortunately. The abuse in your life, because you then had got involved with other men who was abusive to you as well, physically. Can you share some of that? I know at one point you had mentioned that a guy raped you. that you were dating.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, so my first boyfriend, I wrote in my book in under chapter 5 relationships when Northwest met Southeast. That's what I titled it, because I was from Northwest and he was from Southeast, and I'm a church girl and his life was a little fast. But I was a virgin as far as I knew when I met him and started dealing with him. And when I graduated high school, I had my own apartment, and and still I was a church girl. No one knew I was having sex or anything. So once I graduated, got my own place, I'm like, hey, come on, And he started to be abusive verbally and then physically. And then this one particular day, again, I grew up in church, so God just awakened me, and I'm like, hey, we can't live together. We can't do this. I'm tired. And I've never in my life experienced this before, but something came over him, changed his whole face. It was demonic. And when I said I didn't want to have sex with him that morning, because that's what broke the camel's back, he raped me. And he put my oven in a Bible, my Bible in the oven and cut it on. I wrote in the book, I said, "Ooh, you in trouble now." I've never experienced anything so demonic before. And that's when I started really believing in the demons they talk about in the Bible. Like, oh, okay, they really are real. I saw one. Mm-hmm. And he threatened to kill me and hide my body and kill himself so that my family wouldn't find me. But again, I can smile through that adversity. God got me out of that situation. But I had to go through for my sisters, just like I had to go through the rape for my brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. I never look at my pain or what I've been through as something to say, oh my God, why me? Why did it have to happen to me? My life could have been better. I don't know how my life could have been. But I know that what has happened to me has made me strong, and it has made me the type of person that is sensitive to other people. Maybe I wouldn't be who I am if that hadn't happened to me. I don't have to know you to love you. My dad told me God requires us to love everyone. I don't have to like you, but I have to love you. But what if I never experienced this? I may not even love you.
So, do you correlate the situation with what happened to you at 5 years old to further abuse? Do you think that was connected at all?
Absolutely, because when you experience sexual abuse and it's not treated, you have insecurities, you have issues, and you might even want to share that with someone who eventually uses that against you and become your abuser. People will play on your pain. I remember him saying things like, your mother left you, I'm the only one here for you. And, even though I had my dad, but he would play mind games, or play on my hurt. So, yes, I do believe that it coincides. A lot of people that have been sexually abused tell me that they have been in domestic violent relationships because they're still seeking some love or, something they're trying to get.
So to bring us to where you're at right now, because I know you do a lot of advocacy. So bring us to where you're at, and what have been your experience with dealing with victims of sexual abuse? Because I will say, of recent, one of the things that really that I've kind of really been meditating on is this topic of rape culture, sexual abuse, that we're finally having,
Out in the open.
overtly, because I think some of us have it covertly, right? That we're finally having. I think sometimes when we're discussing it, we are not cognizant of the victims that are being triggered by what's happening on social media, the conversations that are being had, how we are talking about it, and for the most part, a lot of us who have not had those experiences having these conversations and very careless with how we talk about it. So when I say bring us to where you're at, and what has been your experience? Your work is mainly in DC, right?
Maryland, wherever I'm called, but DC and Maryland.
Yeah. So what has been, because I'm glad you also mentioned boys and girls, brothers and sisters.
That's right.
What has been your experiences in coming in contact with people who have been sexually abused and seeking healing, or trying to find their way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, first things first, you asked me, where am I?
Yes.
I am in a place of definitely taking care of myself in this fight, getting certified in sexual assault, and not just, being an advocate or showing up as a survivor, but showing up as an expert. That's where I am right now. And I'm attending the University of Baltimore for those credentials for sexual assault. Also, where I am in the village, I have so many people that I have reaching out to me. They have been triggered since the R. Kelly situation. They have been triggered from reading my book, from just things that's going on in the media. And I have a team. My movement is called Stop Stealing Our Souls. That means stop it. Keep your hands to yourself. Because I came up with the title to help the community to say, hey, a piece of your soul that's authentic, that you can't find anywhere, has been stolen, and you're looking for it in the daytime with a flashlight. Think about it. It's already light, and you still have a flashlight, and you're still trying to find it. That's hard. So I'm trying to prevent people from stealing souls, and those that have been souls have been stolen, to find a place of healing. So my movement offers therapy, spiritual and psychological therapists on my team. I have police officers that can give you advice as far as law, legal rights. I have the clergy who will pray for you. I have advocates who have events and classroom talks about domestic violence and sexual abuse. I am here to help. I'm here to let people know, if I can't help you, I know someone who can. Right. And with the people that I deal with, and again, I've also trained the Department of Human Health and Human Services. Excuse me, everyone. In DC, I've trained them on emotional intelligence, how to deal with their clients when they come in for help, for assistance. And I have a log from them of people who they've reached out to me from training them for me to help the clients. And I've done this twice.
Can you give us some statistics as to how many people are suffering from this type of abuse out here?
9 out of 10. Secretly.
People.
Oh, I've talked to older women who say, back in my day, sweetheart, we didn't have anybody to tell. So it's a lot of people, older people, that have been sexually abused, that you see and talk to every day, and they will not crack their lips.
It's interesting that you said that, because I want to say just yesterday, in my quiet time, that is exactly what came to me, because I know, we're going to get to your perspective around the R. Kelly thing, because you were saying we're probably going to be shocked. But one of the things that Alkama and I were discussing is the conversation amongst our brothers around rape culture, right? And there's a lot of ignorance, and I mean ignorance in a very uneducated way, not an insult like you're dumb. It's just, they really don't know. Right. And a lot of it has to do with how they socialize. Honestly, I truly feel that. Now, one of the things I woke up in my quiet time, that's what came to me. I said, maybe if their mamas would tell their stories, and their daddies would tell them their stories, our men would not react like this. Because you know why? I know that their moms and dads have stories, and grandmothers who raised them.
Now.
I know they do. But we know our mothers and grandmothers. Half of us don't know our parents' stories.
That's right.
We just know that they dropped the ball in some areas, but we can't connect the dots because we don't know their stories.
Correct.
They dropped the ball in that area because, like you said, there is this thing that comes on you when you're sexually abused, when you're violated in that way. And if it's not dealt with, it's going to affect how you parent, how you do friendship, how you do relationship, everything.
Yourself.
How you maneuver the world, period. So they may know, like, yeah, my mom was a little off, or she was just always angry, or I know people whose parents were mom were raped, and they were extremely overprotective to where they're almost stifling their children, and you're thinking, oh, my mom just didn't play. No, your mom was scared because of what happened to her. So in my quiet time, that's what came to me. If only their mothers and fathers will tell their stories, maybe our men will have a little bit more compassion. So when you mention that, that's what I'm just like, yeah, because our parents have their stories too now. So yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that is excellent. On February the 2nd, at the National Congress of Black Women, Google it, in Southwest, I'm having a men's town hall meeting to address this. Come on, y'all know. Wow. I am serious about this. I'm serious, and you're welcome to come and sit in on the meeting. February the 2nd, men from all walks of life, we're going to discuss these systemic issues. We want to grow men. I'm about growing leaders in men. We have so many women that stand on the front line.
Yes.
We always on the front line.
Yes, we are.
I'm trying to raise up some men that stand on the front line. Meaning I'm going out to the kings who already have their position to reach back and help the other ones take their position. That's what I'm here to do. Because we can't forget the men. They came out of us. And some of us were raped and abused while pregnant, and then we birthed that into our children and sent them in the world, and now they're abusing women. Come on, it's deep.
Yeah.
It is deep.
Do you find in what you do, because you mentioned in the brothers, and I have one more question after this.
No, it's
do you
okay.
find in what you do, have you found that, because I'm so passionate about trauma, that then it just affects how we do family. Especially Black people, and we don't talk about trauma enough. We don't acknowledge it enough, and therefore it's not dealt with.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you do your work, have you found that? I guess neither would be easier, but have you found with the men that it's probably easier for them to? Is there less shame when they're violated by a woman versus a man?
It's less shame. It's less shame, but there's pain.
There's still pain. Okay.
It's less shame, but pain. Because what happens, if you're ready to go there, we can go. But
Let's go.
If you're not, let me know.
We're ready.
So let me address R. Kelly.
Yes.
Let me explain to you what happened to him. Okay? I have to be explicit. I have to be real. And I pray that if anyone from the news is watching this, call me, because I'll say this nationally. And I'm very serious. So, at 7 years old, a boy being violated by his sister, that's a really serious and deep situation, because first of all, you trust her. Okay? And you have to think, a 7-year-old, people are so insensitive, but I want all of you, if you don't know a 7-year-old, I want you to look out in the street and imagine if they are 7 and think about a grown woman putting her whole vagina on his penis.
I have one right now.
You hear me?
7-year-old. Yep.
Could you imagine the psychological things and the physiological things that's going on in his little body at 7? Just a year from 6. Okay? This was going on until he was 14. I watched the documentary, but I also saw an exclusive interview with his brother on Unwind.
Yes. It's out there.
And he talks about how the sister basically groomed him to be the person he is today. How the girls are trapped in the house. The sister would trap R. Kelly in the house. He wouldn't let him go out.
That's so true.
she would tell him, like the women on the documentary said, he want me to do it this way and that way. The sister told the brother, this is public information, would take, and she'll be naked under her robe, and she did this to R. Kelly.
Yeah.
Put his face in her vagina and said, stick your tongue out and do it fast. Faster, do it like this, do it like that. These girls, these women say, R. Kelly wants you to do this, he wants you to do that. He got it from his sister, y'all. Hold up, though. I'm not excusing her, him, anybody. I'm stating facts. What I know is that psychologically, a piece of his soul was stolen, and she became like his puppet master. Because he got used to it and familiar. It was normal now. And even I heard R. Kelly say he would anticipate, like he'll wait for her to come now.
Because this went on into adolescent, right?
So he was 14.
Just like how you just said, think of a 7-year-old.
The formative years.
Right, and then now think of an adolescent and what the changes their body's going through. So it's so almost like, I like the way this feels.
Right.
But go ahead, which we don't talk about with sexual abuse.
Right, and then people don't think about Arrested Development and how old these girls were when he started coming after them. They were 14.
Yep.
In his mind, he's still 14.
Thank you. I said this
He's
to
still
someone.
14 in his mind. Okay, I'm about to get deeper with you because I can only talk about what I've been through.
Right.
But it helps for you all to understand what R. Kelly's going through and his victims. I'm going to get to them too. So after this transformation of his hormones and his mind, you know, he was raised in church, right? Yeah. So he has a godly side. And I don't believe anybody has a stone to throw to say they ain't done mess and done set up in church. That's a lie you have. But the thing about it was, because he never told anyone what happened to him, they never knew to pray for him, to give him some help. He was just sitting in church. So that's why he battled with angels and demons too. If you go on his page, he's praying. I'm saying before all the scandal, you see him on Sunday praying. He has a picture with angel wings on his back. He honestly is in a spiritual warfare. He's battling for his life.
Himself.
Okay, so Channel 9, if you ever get a chance, Google Channel 9 News, Living Beyond the Symbols. They did an exclusive interview with me in my living room, and I talked about how cancer and sexual abuse is alike. They're exactly alike. Once you find out, once you've been infected, you have to go get treated. Now, when you don't even know the infection is there, like R. Kelly, he just thought this was normal. Now, by the time you find out, it has gone from stage 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's aggressive. Now it's aggressive because it was never treated. Think about cancer, y'all. At that point, you're about to die, right? Unless God come in and do a miracle. I've seen him do it. But this is what's happening with R. Kelly. When he was 7, it was just an infection. 14, 18, 25, 30, 40. It went from stage 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's aggressive. It has gotten so bad now that it's spilling out. Now the world see it because it was never dealt with. Nobody never took that baby and said, you've been acting a little strange lately. What's wrong with you? Are you okay? See, the mom was working all the time. See, if the fathers are in a home and they helping, the mothers don't got to work so hard and have a babysitter looking after their child so much. The mother never knew, y'all. And if she did know, like my family, they had it.
He had a close relationship with the mom, from what I understand.
Yes. So check this out. I can only tell y'all what I know because the disease was festering in me. Until 25, I didn't even know. Until I was about to kill somebody on a federal property because they were harassing me and I ain't know nothing about PTSD or triggers. What is PTSD? What's a trigger? See, R. Kelly don't even know he going through that, right? it took a tragic situation for someone to say, you have post-traumatic stress disorder, and these are your triggers, and this is what you need to cope, and this is what you need to do. I was in the dark. You cannot assassinate what you don't understand, what you don't know.
And I truly believe, we talk a lot about the mind, but I really truly believe the body holds memory.
Yes.
I think we do not understand that. To where, like you said, I look at the mind as like the attic. You could take and you could store stuff up there and suppress it. The subconscious mind even, we suppress to the point where you forget that it's there. But that body does not forget. And so you find yourself in situations, it could be something as simple as this person, and this isn't just for sexual abuse, this is trauma, period.
Yeah.
Right? And something about, it could be where you grew up in a household with watching your dad abuse your mom. And in your mind, you're like, never. It would never happen to me. And then now you're, as an adult, you cannot figure out why alpha males just trigger you and you're really combative with them. Even if they're trying to be nice, you're just nasty. And you can't figure out why until you actually start to do the work. And you realize that your body holds memory. That person reminds you of something that you said you will never subject yourself to. So with this, like you said, people carry stuff, and then we get in situations, and it's like, that's why it's important to say, why am I feeling what I'm feeling right now?
Right.
Where is this coming from? Because sometimes we truly don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't know that we need help.
Right.
And when you get help and you start to dig, you're like you said, the person let it out. These are your triggers. And I'm sure you had like an aha moment, like, yeah. Because you said from when you were little, you never went back. But that pushed you in the direction to where it's, okay, I need to get some help to get, to start to deal with this. Yeah.
So whatever you feed grows.
Yes.
So for 25 years, I was feeding this demon. So now, that's why I say I'm on a path of 7 and 8, because now I still got to fight all them years and nobody helped me.
I have a question, Lakisha. Nobody helped you. Let's get to that, because you're talking about R. Kelly, and I know when we talked about it in our show, for me, I'm just like, I don't even want to make this about R. Kelly the person.
Right.
This is a bigger issue.
It is.
This is a bigger that the R. Kelly situation has triggered the conversation.
That's right.
And I want to have the conversation
Yes.
because it's a societal issue, because there's a lot of pedophilia happening in our society, period. And it's global. It's not just national, it's global, where little girls and little boys, the least among us, the weakest among us, are being taken advantage of. Okay? So with the R. Kelly situation, now what have been, I'm sure you've had conversations with people, you've seen the conversations being had. What is your take on how we are handling this as a community? Sexual abuse, the topic of sexual abuse. When you see the conversations about the fast girls and you know they knew better, what has been your experience, and how have you been kind of like processing that?
Okay, let me be careful with how I say this. I want to say that our society, our people have been a little conditioned to be insensitive, because it's as if it happens so much, people are immune to it. It's like, oh, someone was raped. Oh, desensitized. I feel saddened by the fact that our community does not take this as serious as it is. And what I mean by that, for example, you can have a young lady who's been sexually abused and she forgets things, and you're irritating, you're talking about her. Did she always forget and stuff? But you never even researched, studied, or found out what sexual abuse victims go through psychologically. We're not patient. We don't even want to research and learn. We don't want to educate ourselves. So it hurts my feelings. So instead of me getting angry, I educate people. I'm educating you all. I'm educating you all. So, it's a disappointment. Now that this situation happened with R. Kelly, everybody wants to pay attention to it. I've been knocking on people's doors trying to get them to talk about it. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Some people, I'm sorry. Some people, yes. Some people, no. So now everybody is a topic of discussion, but it's always been an issue. And I just want to get into the lust part of it all. You know, I would charge you all to watch a movie called Black Snake Moon with Samuel L. Jackson. This woman describes a whole lot of what overall R. Kelly, me, and everybody has experienced that has been sexually abused. That hunger, that thirst, that desire for that lust that was put on us that we never warranted. Let's get deep with that. Let's get real with that, okay? You have to understand, again, anything you feed grows. So if lust is fed, it's just going to grow. And with me, and I wish R. Kelly had done this, and other people, my cousin that raped me, I wish she had done this. Instead of hurting the innocent because they were hurt, if anything, internalize the pain on yourself. Don't inflict it on anyone else. And I believe that's what I did with myself. When I didn't even know I had a healing path, I was involved in situations in feeding my sexual desires because of that hunger, but it was with grown men. You see what I'm saying? So people that are abused, you three choices. You could just get healed or out the gate. Just go get help. Out the gate as soon as it happened. Some people turn and hurt the innocent because they were hurt.
And they were the innocent at one point. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then you have those, again, I put myself out there who was like myself, who hurt myself. I would never hurt a child. Kids love me, and I had to change many a boy pampers. I have a lot of males in my family. I've been left alone with them plenty of times. And they're grown now with kids. None of them can come back and say, Keisha touched me when I was a kid. Never. Ever. Because I made a vow. So the sex, that desire, that lust is real, y'all.
So what I'm hearing is that you have to get the help in order to not feed them desires.
Yes.
Because if you don't get the help in the finding out how to stop feeding those desires, it's just going to grow.
That's right.
And exacerbate.
That's right.
And think about a child. I mean, let's really think about this for a second. 7 years old, I think my son is 7. He literally just turned 7. They don't really understand their body.
Right.
And so if you awaken certain things where they can a boy at 7 will wake up with an erection. He doesn't understand what that is.
Right.
He really doesn't. He goes, he urinates, and it goes away.
Right.
And we start the process again tomorrow.
Right.
Or sometimes, it might be where, exploring.
Yeah.
Let me play with my penis or whatever, because I know I struggle with that with my child. Like, can you stop? Can you just leave it alone?
Right.
But then because my background is psychology, I don't really react
right.
or overreact to certain things, because I understand child development.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, but I think about him at 7, and you are exposing him 7 years old and awakening certain things and feelings
Right.
in their body that they do not understand.
And then, and also that the people who are doing that are those that they trust.
Yes,
So
and
that's a whole nother piece that we don't put together. So the 7-year-old, they trust their uncle, they trust their brother or sister.
I told you I saw a sister on YouTube, because there's a side of sexual abuse that I think, first of all, the gruesomeness involved, and we don't really want to talk about it. We want to talk about it on the surface. We really do.
Version.
Yes, we love the clean version, because we really don't want to know. But I remember there's a sister on YouTube that I was following, and the side of sexual abuse that we don't talk about, which it brought up, that came up for me in these conversations around the whole R. Kelly thing, is that people don't talk about that side when the body begins to like what's being done to it.
I never knew until you told me that.
It happens. There are women, there are girls who, that's a different level of shame. When you orgasm in your violation, that adds another level of shame.
Come on, y'all, listen.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
Not only did I used to watch porno, I used to make my own movies. You hear me? That's lust. You want to go back and look at it. I'm real with y'all. I'm real with y'all. I'm real.
We don't.
I speak
don't
in,
know about that
yes,
side.
I speak in churches. And I tell them I'm the church girl. I'm the one with the angel right here. And that demon right there. People always say, Keisha, I love your hair. I wear red and black in it because I want to show you. It's two sides to this. I could follow the red, the devil, or I could follow the angel, God. So now that I have understanding, even more clarity spiritually, I feed my angel more than the demon. I get angry.
But it's there.
I get lustful. My husband, I'm doing a support group for men to talk and support each other that have to deal with women that have been sexually abused. Just because I'm married doesn't mean I don't battle with lust.
So now that you touch that, like, can we talk about the areas of your life that you brought one up, which we talk about a lot, outcome relationship. A lot of people are in relationship with people who were sexually abused, men and women.
Yes.
A lot of women are with men that were sexually abused and they have never talked about it. And you know something is off. You know there's a disconnect, but you cannot really put your finger on it. And a lot of men are dealing with women who were sexually violated and they've never talked about it. But like I said, energy don't lie and body hold memory.
Yes, it does.
So what other areas does sexual abuse impact? Because I want the audience to grasp why this is, because you talk about how important this is and how we need to get how much of our community is impacted
involved.
in
Yeah,
it.
we see it as somebody else's problem. We don't see it that we are infected
But
as
we
well.
don't see it as one of the problems on the top of the list either. It is a top priority.
Right.
It should be a top. So
That's
I
right.
want you to talk
That's
about
right.
I want you to help us paint a picture of why it should be a top priority. Pedophilia in our community, it should be one of those top priorities. How does it impact different areas?
Okay.
How does it show up in your life, even as an adult, if it's not dealt with?
Wow. So I'm going to go to the men first, how it impacts them. When a man's been sexually abused as a child, one or two things happen. They either turn gay. Some guys don't want to be gay, but somebody really touched them. And I've met with some gay guys that told me that's the reason why, right? It wasn't even a choice for them, okay? Then you have some brothers who are overachievers. They got so many women. They sleep with so many women because somebody touched them. Man or woman touched them as a child, especially if they've been raped by a man. I've known people that have been raped by their uncles, cousins, fathers, and they have to overachieve. They have to sleep with so many women. They have to have all these kids. They have to prove that they really are a man. They don't ever want to identify with being gay because they're not. But because that happened, somebody can't enter their body as a man. The shame allows them even to spill over into the domestic violence world. They're so angry. They angry at the act and their mother because she didn't protect them. It could have been her boyfriend. So this is how it impacts our community. It's a lot to mental health. And why isn't it a top priority? Because people feel like it's a taboo. I don't want to talk about it. But the commercials is sex. Everything is sex. Everything is sex. But forced sex and violent sex, y'all don't want to talk about. But y'all half naked on Instagram, Facebook, everything. But y'all don't want to talk about this. I'm going even to the strippers, y'all. Guess what? Because some of them been sexually abused and hurt so bad, but y'all judging them. Y'all don't even know their story. Please don't assassinate what you don't understand. Please, after the day, don't assassinate anything about anyone that you do not understand. Okay? Some of these girls that are caught up in sex trafficking, okay, some of them are so used to their bodies being violated, they walked to the pimp themselves. The ones that have been sold into it or snatched, God, I pray you free them, but now a part of their soul have been snatched, and if you go rescue them, they will want to stay.
R. Kelly.
They're used to it. They're immune. Nobody's looking at them. Everybody's judging everybody, but there's a root to everything. The tree, it's
right.
going to have fruit on it,
That's right.
but what is bringing the fruit up? It's the root.
That's right.
It's the root.
Yeah.
Some of y'all work with people that have been sexually abused, and you would never know, but they so mean and nasty to you. You don't even know why. Somebody touched them and they never dealt or processed that emotion or them energies in them. Like you say, the body holds memory.
It goes deep.
Sometimes too, people try to gain. You was talking about promiscuity in men. Sometimes people try to gain back a sense of control because someone stole that from them. And so now, before you can even choose for me, I'm going to choose for myself. So I'm going to go out there and I get to choose who I sleep with, and I get to choose who I pimp my body out to, and this is my choice now.
Right.
And it may not make sense. And that's the thing, is that when trauma enters in, a lot of stuff is irrational. A lot of stuff does not make sense to the natural eye. You cannot look at it from just like a regular. You just cannot.
Right.
It really doesn't make. It makes sense to that person, but it doesn't make sense to you. It makes sense to someone that was victimized. So let's talk about where do we go from here. So someone listening to this, they heard your story. We touched on the culture. We touched on the society. We touched on the R. Kelly issue, and the likes of. Where does one go from there? Because there are people, I found that this R. Kelly thing have triggered women are calling hotlines, lines where it's like confidentiality to share their story. Men and women are looking to sign up for therapy. It has really created a conversation. People are making moves to get out of abusive relationships. I mean, it's really, there's an impact that was necessary that has happened.
And I noticed a lot of the triggers online where people are actually coming forth and telling their stories. And not only just telling their stories, but saying the names of their abusers.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of that happening after this whole incident with R. Kelly.
So where do we go from? Sorry,
Which is part of
yeah. And what I'm sorry, I'm going to ask this question, but I was going to say a lot of the emotional dwarfism that we see in our community is connected to sexual abuse and trauma. We really need to understand that, because when you mentioned with the R. Kelly thing, as he's still a teenager. I don't think we put that into perspective where someone can be professional, wearing a suit every day, achieving, progressive in this area. And then you're like, ooh, that's a good brother. I need me one of those. And then you get with him and he can't even have an emotional conversation. He shuts down. You're like, what in the world? Because on one end, you're a man's man. But in the emotional department, there's some issues there. And there's a lot, like I said, it's a lot of trauma in our community. And it affects how we relate, period. Yes. So my question is, where do we go from here? People who are watching, people who heard your story, people who may read your book from today, going forward. Where do a person who was sexually abused and maybe never said anything, maybe he's dealing with the shame right now and the pain of that. Where do they start if they wanted to get help? Where would you tell them to start?
I want you to send me an email first. Lakisha Davis-Small @gmail.com. Again, that's Lakisha Davis-Small @gmail.com, all one word. Where you start is speaking up. The first step is not being silent anymore, exposing the pain, whether it's with me, with the DC Rape Crisis Center or Rape Crisis Center in PG. That's the first step, because I want to also tell people who stand up and say, me too, it's work to be done after you put your hand up. It doesn't stop there. So that's the first step. Second step is getting counseling, getting therapy. If you have insurance, go. If you're find spiritual counseling. You have to now, because now you've unleashed something and you can't go back. You can't go back now. It's too late. So all you can do is face it head on. You're going to have to face it head on. So you have to get therapy, okay? You have to start doing more self-care. You have to do affirmations, whatever you like to do. Like myself, I like to dance. I write poetry. I like to stand in the rain, literally, and just let it fall on me. You know, I do things therapeutic. Find therapeutic things to do, because the thoughts and the visions, things are going to start coming back to your remembrance. You're going to start remembering things. So you have to counteract that, because the battle is in the mind. So when a negative thought comes, you gate that, meaning you put a good thought in your head to push the bad one out. Every day I battle. Every day I fight. Every day I put my feet on the floor. I battle, but I'm fit to fight day and night. That's what I say, because I'm not going to let the situation take me under, because I have too many people that are waiting on me to help them. See, this is how I always view myself, and I will forever. It's Harriet Tubman's little sister. Check this out. She wasn't free from slavery, really. Every time she went back to rescue slaves, she was putting herself in jeopardy. Every time she went back, she put herself in jeopardy. She was already out the gate. That's how I feel about me. I'm out the gate as far as not knowing that I have an issue. Now I know I have an issue, and I'm up the road. And then I'm like, dang, I gotta go back and get y'all. I'm almost free, totally, but I can't leave you. So I go back every time. And I'm jeopardized, compromised in my emotions and everything when I go back for folks, for my people, and or not. Because sexual abuse has no color.
That's right.
You know? But one thing I can say is, and I love, and I'm going to end with this, is that Harriet Tubman had hyposomnia, which is a mental condition where she would pass out at the drop of a hat. She could be talking to you and she'll just pass out, and she cannot be awakened until her mind allows her to. She could be asleep for 30 minutes, 3 hours. But this was happening every time she was freeing slaves. They had no way to go. They didn't know what to do. She was the captain. She would pass out. They would have to wait for her. And she never lost a patient.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry. She never lost a passenger.
Right.
So I definitely... I look to her for her spirit, for my strength in what I'm doing, and how I'm helping the community. I'm not going to let you hurt any longer. So if you're watching this, reach out to me. After you email me, we'll talk. You know, send me your number and we'll talk. I promise you, people have called me. I was on 104.1 FM. And, you know, people heard me and emailed me, and I called and they were shocked. I didn't think you would call. Listen, my dad said your word is the only thing you have in life. These clothes, my hair, all this, nothing. Only this that comes out of my mouth is what. You hear me?
That's right.
So reach out to me, you all.
Right. Keisha, I know we run out of time, but I definitely just want, it's a short passage in this book that I think will wrap things up brilliantly, if I'm allowed to read it. You said an insecure person doesn't have to remain insecure. You can work on being secure about yourself. It really is possible to change. I am living proof. If it can happen for me, it can happen for you. I am no different from you. There is no shame in having insecurities. The shame comes when you realize that you have allowed others to make you feel insecure. When you don't fight against insecurities, you will stay stuck. You can start fighting by just praying and reading. God's words and inspirational books will empower you. Once I realized that I had insecurities, I started to do something about it. Don't get me wrong, it was a long road to travel and heavy loads to carry, but it was worth traveling and carrying, because now I see where my confidence has gotten me today.
Yes.
This is Lakisha Davis-Small. Give her a call, family. Get her book. Where
Can you
do
tell
they
us where we
find
can
your
get the
book?
book?
Yes, it's on Amazon. Please,
Okay.
please order it. I'm on
Yeah,
furlough, you
delivery.
all. 33 days. So
Wow.
isn't God good? He put
good
a
book.
book in place.
Excellent read. I highly recommend it. Thank
Yes.
you so
Thank
much
you for
joining
having
us.
me, both of you. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Family, this is your
I'm
Empower
just putting the name
Hour.
of your book. Mhm.
Catch us on YouTube under Miss Frida People. Join us on Facebook under the Empower Hour Talk Show. And until next Wednesday, we'll see you then. Take care of each other. Peace.
Peace.